to all. In today's session, we are all going to learn what is all about the ethical entrepreneurship, the cultural governance, and the family business. So let's begin with the definition about the ethics. So, what is business ethics? So business ethics is basically represents the moral duty where the organization and its employees will have to uh, know about what would be the right or wrong code of conduct. So it is a moral duty about the organization and its employees to focus about what would be the exact rights of their customers, their clients, and the wider society. So basically, ethics are the fundamental foundation of creating a trust between the businesses and their key stakeholders. So as the India is of course putting up a global economic superpower, and the businesses is always being emphasized on ethics only. So the business ethics we refers as a sort of principles like honesty, integrity, confidentiality, which are very fundamental terms to establish a trust between the businesses and its stakeholders. Because after all, the trust and honesty which always work to build up a trust or to create a trust between both of them. So in India, it is very important for all those organizations or the businesses where the business ethics or the ethics which always help them to grow and remain sustainable in the long term period. So automatically, when we focused business ethics in the workplace, is not only to contribute on the company reputation or goodwill, but also prevents the malpractices, reduce the risk, and of course attract the investors and in stakeholders who are working for within or outside the organization, which ultimately stimulate the job satisfaction and promote a very healthy business environment. So it is important to maintain the ethics in the work in your work or the workplace, which almost promote the equal opportunities for all, and how to report any conflicts of interest, and how if there is any disturbance between the trust, between the respect among the employers and employees in a workplace or between the colleagues, the ethics was always exercise the discretion with the sensitive information. And that's why business ethics are important in a you can say most of the organizations where the trust and honesty is always important to build up between the businesses and all its stakeholders. Now we can come up to the various definitions which has been given by the various authors. So there are many definitions of the business ethics which has been given by the Endocrine and the Raymond C. Bromhard, who have considered the most appropriate ones to define the business ethics. So these two definitions which has been given by them only. So according to the Crane, the business ethics is almost a study of business situation, the activities, the decisions, and through that they will get to know what would be right and wrong, and what would be the concern will be addressed. Next one is Brohard defines the ethics of business is the ethics of responsibility, that the particular business or organization must be responsible, and the businessman must promise that he will not harm knowingly or intentionally to anyone, and that is called the business ethics. So the one is saying it's all about study of situation, activities, and decisions, and the second one is all about showing off responsibility. Now we can come up to the need and importance of business ethics. So the first one is always stop the business malpractices. In every organization, there is a situation when the particular customers or the client may face in the businesses any malpractices, but through the business ethics, it could be eliminated, it could be reduced. Any unfair trade practices could be eliminated through this concept that is called business ethics, like black marketing, artificial high pricing, adulteration, cheating in weights and measures, selling of counterfeit or any harmful products, illegal hoardings, which is always exist at present also. So through the business ethics, it always helps to eliminate such malpractices and improve and save the society. And of course, it also aims to create a healthy business environment for everyone. The next one is improve the customer's confidence. So the business ethics are always needed to improve the customer's confidence about that what exactly the information needed to the customers, the such ethics which always talk and inform about the quality, about the utility, about the reliability, about the quantity, about the prices of the products. In this way, the customers are more aware about their product information, and of course, through the business ethic, it will also build up a trust and confidence in the businesses, also among the businessman and its clients. So automatically, if any of the businessman follows about or improve, it could improve the customer's confidence through business ethics only. And after all, it follows the ethical business rules or principles. And in this way, ethics binds the businessman to maintain trust by offering a quality product and services to the customers. Next one is the survival of business. Business ethics are mandatory or compulsory for the survival of any businesses. And in this way, the businessman who does not follow it always have the short-term success. So it is very important to get a long-term success for a long period. So it is important to follow up the certain principles and the ethics so that they can run into a long run, and of course they could not cheat a particular consumers, so you can say, in the particular organization or businesses. Next one is safeguarding the customer's rights. So the customers have many rights. It could be right to safety or health, it right to be informed, right to choose, right to be heard, right to redress their grievances, right to be satisfied. And many business do not respect and protect the rights of the customers. So business ethics will safeguard such consumer rights, and of course, and it could be that these rights could exist in the present times as well, and it could be done through the business ethics only. Business ethics also protect the employees and shareholders. So business ethics is always required to protect the interest of the employees, shareholders, competitors, dealers, suppliers, customers, investors, government, etc. Such ethics which also protect them exploiting each other through the unfair trade practices like cheatings or frauds, and it always exists at present as well. So it is very important when a particular organization are actually follow the business ethics, then definitely such exploitation to each other could be eliminated, could be mitigated. So the ethics compels each entity participating in the business activity to properly execute their roles by established ethical code of conduct. We can make up the ethical committee about whether the organization is actually follow the ethics, the business ethics or not, to safeguard the society, to safeguard the consumers, to safeguard their own employers and employees. Next one is develops good relations. So business ethics are very important to develop good and friendly relations between the businesses and the society. And this will always result in a regular supply of good quality of goods and services. So it could be done through ethics only, that they could aims to focus on quality and provide such goods and services at a lower prices to the society. And in this way, the businesses could earn a huge profits or generate a larger revenue, which ultimately leads to a growth of the economy. So this is the advantages, or you can say creates good image. So business ethics can also create a good image for the businesses and the businessmen. So if any of the businessmen follows the ethical rules, then automatically they are fully accepted and they cannot be criticized by the society. And the society will always supports the businessman. And after all, the businessman is always taking care to safeguard the society. Next is smooth functioning. So if the business follows all the business ethics, then the employees and all the stakeholders will also be happy. And it will also create a sense of cooperation to the businesses. And in this way, the smooth functioning of the business activities could take place. So even in fact, the business will grow, expand, and diversify easily and quickly, and automatically the sales would also will get increased, and if the sales would get increased, the revenue would be more. Next one is consumer movement. So business ethics is always gaining in importance because of the growth of the consumer movements all over the world. So in today's scenario, the consumers are the well aware about their rights. They know how to use their own rights in an appropriate way, so that they will not be cheated by the businesses. And they also get to know about the actions to be taken against the businessman if the particular consumer found any malpractices, unfair trade trade practices which has been faced by the consumer through such businesses or businessmen. So the only way to survive in the business is to be honest, fair, and loyal to the consumers. Customer satisfaction is also the one of the, you can say, feature of the or the need of the business ethics for the businessmen. So in today's scenario, the consumer is the king of the market, and he can make the business, he can destroy as well. So their expectation must be considered and must be taken as a command and fulfilled is a and need to be fulfilled as earliest as possible. So any business who cannot survive without its consumers, so automatically their aim and objective of the business must be to achieve the higher level of customer satisfaction. Next one is importance of labor. Labor, that we can talk about the employees, we can talk about the workers or the active staff who always plays a very crucial or significant role in the success of the businesses. And of course, they are the main wheels actually of the overall business which actually runs. So a business must use the business ethics while dealing with its employees, and they must be treated with dignity and respect as well through such business ethics. Healthy competition. In today's scenario, the competition is always a part, a parcel we can talk about of our lives and the business world, and which has no exception in it. So the competition is very essential because the particular businessman will get to know about the creativity, about innovation, about the competitive prices, about the affordable services, about their sense of responsibility, about the consumer satisfaction, which ultimately deals with its own businesses. So if the competitor is successful just because of his behavior, management, marketing skills, business statistics, customer handling, it must be carefully studied. So it is very important to understand that and its need to create a healthy competition within the organization or outside the organization. Now we can talk about the next section, what is ethical behavior. So the ethical behavior termed as a practice of making the decisions or act in various way which are morally right or wrong in line with social norms. And after all, ethical behavior which always related to the social norms only, and the ethical or the social norms which always include the honesty, the fairness, the respectful of others. So automatically ethical behavior is if I'm showing respect, a huge respect for our teachers, that means it is my ethical behavior for them to be respectful to others, respectful for our teachers. Ethical behavior in the workplace is very important. It always helps to build trust and improve the team performance. So if you respect your colleagues, your peer groups, so definitely they will come together and work together and build up a trust and improve the team performance as a whole. It is very important for the companies to adopt the ethical working practices. As today's scenario, it is very important to adopt the ethical working practices, that how they will work in a team and what sort of behavior is to be put on or towards each other. As it could be possibility that the ethical behavior could not exist in the present scenario, in the present organization, and that's why it is equally important to follow such practices, ethical working practices, so that the environment of the workplace could be smooth and functioning. Next one is ethical behavior can go beyond the legal environments. That's very important, that beyond it, always think about beyond the legal lines, beyond the legal formalities, because after all, the ethical behavior to be taught by our seniors, by our the you can say the family, the parents, which always work in our organization about such ethics, which could be used in our communication, in our actions, in our thinking as well. So this is a way that how we can view ethically for others. Ethical behavior in other contexts. So ethical behavior can also be applied in academic and research setting as well. We can talk about the confidentiality of the participant. So the information, the data we collect from the participant, it could not be disclosed. That is called at our ethical behavior in academic and research settings. Ethical behavior can also apply in multicultural workplaces. We do respect the other cultures of belong to the other states. So definitely ethical behavior also stand in this particular multicultural sector. Next one is ethical behavior can be applied in interpersonal relationships as well. That how they can maintain their relationships interpersonally or between the employer and employees. So we have an examples of ethical behavior to understand this concept more clearly. That is to follow the company rules or regulations, be trustful and honest, respect the others or elders, making decisions and always think about and consider the well-being of others, and taking responsibility for your own actions instead of putting the blame to others, resolving the conflicts in a respectful and sustainable way. So these are the examples of ethical behavior, and the organization always expect from their employers and employers to follow the ethical behavior, and this is how it could be seen in your actions in the workplace. Now we can talk about the advantages of ethical behavior. That is the stronger stakeholder relationship. Ethical behavior always build up the trust and loyalties with customers, with your employees, investors, which always build up a stronger relationship and positive brand value and brand perception. Next one is employee morality and retention. So employees are more likely to be satisfied and committed to the company which always operates ethically, which always leads to a lower turnover rates. Attractive the top talent. A strong ethical reputation can attract the high quality employees who value the ethical practices. So automatically the organization who actually value the ethical practices, they can always be in search to a high quality employees with their ethical, who always willing to adopt the ethical working practices. Next one is positive public image. So the ethical conduct which always depends upon the positive company reputation and the public perception, which always leads to a positive media coverage and depends or associate with the customer loyalty. Next one is improved decision making. The ethical frameworks which always work on in a structured way or follow a structured approach when it comes to take up a decisions related to the organization, so that it always leads to avoid risky or unethical choices. Next one is legal compliance. So automatically, when any organization follows the ethical code of conduct or ethical principles, it always helps to prevent any legal issues or associated costs. Next one is increased innovation. Increased innovation is always be built up through ethical behavior only. So it is very important to create the ethical environment which always focused on creativity and innovation to encourage an open communication and between the groups or the collaboration with the well-defined organizations. Now we can talk about the disadvantages of ethical behavior. We can talk about the short-term profit sacrifices. This is also the one of the disadvantage of ethical behavior. Sometimes ethical choices may require sacrifices. And when we talk about sacrifices, which leads to a short-term profits, so that to uphold the principles for a long time. So if any organization follows the code of principles, then ultimately it leads to a long-term profit. So sometimes to get for a long-term profit, it sacrifices short-term profits to uphold or to maintain ethical principles. Next one is complexity in decision making. So navigate any complex ethical dilemmas can be challenging, especially when we face with any conflict priorities or conflict environment. So that is also the one of the disadvantage, that ethical behavior can also build up the or also creates the conflicts also, as the employers and employers we also face the with the conflict priorities. Next one is enforcement challenges. When we implement, with the organization implement and maintain the ethical standards, it requires the ongoing monitoring or the enforcement mechanism, which can be a resource intensive. Next one is competitive disadvantage. In a certain markets, it is very important to admire the ethical practices which might be put a company at a competitive disadvantage if the competitors engage in the unethical behavior. So that is also the one of the disadvantage. When competitors engage in an unethical behavior, so automatically it would harm You can see the company reputation, and ultimately it will disadvantage become a disadvantage of the ethical behavior. Next one is perceived cost burden. Some business may actually perceive that how to implement the ethical practices as an addition of the cost burden. So this is how that this particular disadvantage, which always harm, you can see the organization associated with the additional cost burden as well if they don't follow the business ethics in an organization. Next one is our next concept that will begin from the ethics or business ethics we call ethical entrepreneurship. Ethical entrepreneurship means running a business with a very strong moral values, which not only focused on profit but also focused on the well-being of the employees, customer, community, and the environment. And accordingly, they will take up a decisions for the well-being of the organization of all those stakeholders which are actually considered morally right, even the organization faced the challenging situations as well, and that's called ethical entrepreneurship. So it's all about the strong moral values, it's all about the principles, it's all about that the organization is not only focused on profits but also focused on the well-being, which is actually a morally right for all of them or for all of the stakeholders, even if when the organization facing the challenging situations. And that's called ethical entrepreneurship. So let's come up with a few examples of ethical entrepreneurship. That is a fair trade coffee company. So any company that actually sources or work on a coffee beans directly from the small scale farmers in developing countries, which always ensure that there should be a fair prices for their product. It means they are promoting a sustainable farming practices and contributing to a local community development. It means that this company is following up an ethical norms where the fair pricing element for their product, which ultimately contributes a sustainable farming practices and automatically which helps to build up a community development in a local span of time. That is also the one of the example of ethical entrepreneurship. We can also come up to the eco-friendly clothing brand, a fashion label that always focused on using up this recycled material, minimize the waste in production and how and paying up the fair wages to them. And after doing that, after doing these particular aspect or understand these aspect, it's still producing the stylish and the high quality clothing, and that's called ethical entrepreneurship. After following up all the ethic and moral values, after following up all these values, they are still producing the stylish and the high quality clothing. That means it is one of the example of ethical entrepreneurship. Next one is socially responsible technology startup. Any company who wants to develop a technology solution and always try to address the social issues like access to education or healthcare in the undeserved community to ensure their operations are ethical, and that's become the one of the example of ethical entrepreneurship. Why? Because this particular startup which always thinking upon the well-being of the society, working on this to working on to safeguard the society, and that's why it is termed as one of the example of the ethical entrepreneurship. Key points about the ethical entrepreneurship. The first one is it focus on values, a moral values, all about the principles like honesty, transparency, fairness, and social responsibility in all the aspect of the business operations. Stakeholder consideration. When any organization go beyond just pleasing the customers and investors, they of course they can also think about the needs, about how the impact, how the impactful impact on all stakeholders, like including employees, suppliers, and the wider community. So it is very important to consider all those values when it comes to the thinking about the needs and impact level of all the stakeholders into an organization. Next one is decision making framework. Ethical entrepreneurs always use a robust ethical framework so that they can guide the higher authorities, the informed, and how to take a decision making, how to consider the potential consequences of their action on all the parties involved in it. Now we can talk about the ethical dilemmas in business organizations. That what would be the impact on in business organization in the following ways. The first one is the corporate criminal behavior, using companies' resources for personal benefits, sending personal mails during working hours. You are doing a WhatsApp chat all the time with your friends. Inflating expenses is also the unethical practices that actually very common nowadays. The necessity for an appropriate legislation to preserve privacy problems is most of the fundamental issues in the current situation, and this is called an ethical dilemmas, where the criminal behavior in the corporate companies which always been exist, and the most of the people are actually considering the unethical behavior in the organizations. Next one is distributive and the procedural justice. There are two major problems that workers in corporation may face. The appropriate mechanism that how they will allocate the resources is a fundamental issue, and it really needs the procedural fairness in it. While distributive consequences what a person and employee receive, it is something the you can say the major issue of such particular business organizations. The next one is intact conduct. So inappropriate treatment with the employers and doesn't create a hostile workplace for them, which ultimately leads to a job stress, lower productivity, and any sort of mental issues as well. So to stop these sort of operations within the organization, entrepreneur must come forward to take serious measures. Social responsibility. So the companies must have a responsibility to the community to improve, and by investing on the social causes like food, education, healthcare, and the environment. And the company should encourage doing public welfare activities like developing infrastructure to support society. Like you can just build up or construct the toiletry services for the public, and that's become a social responsibilities of the companies or the business organization. Next one is the legal responsibility. A startup is always take care to secure what would be the necessary regulations, authority, the licenses, the certificates are required from the relevant government bodies as well. So when marketing when any of the marketing activity involved, the entrepreneur should use the regulatory authorizations, like to use the prudence, particularly in the context of the religious beliefs, the cultures they must have follow and respect, and accordingly the entrepreneurs use prudence. Next is commitment to customers. When there is any startups going on, they will respond to the customer's concern, they will respond, they will comment as well, that how to take fairly measures which are actually leads or fulfill the interest of the society. And the firms should also should come forward to satisfy the needs of the consumers, and they do not try to disharm, to lie the clients by using the third party certifications or markings. And the last one is commitment to the employees. The startup should treat employees right, with morals, and always complain with the loss of any issue related to the organization or the environment with the organization, and it not being improved in a varieties or during a span of time due to the multiple factors. The employees should get regular payment of salaries and benefits, using up the ethical behavior, using up the business ethics, so that and the particular organization must build up a robust systems to manage the complaints of the employees, to maintain the healthy growth in the organization. Next one is integration of ethics into a various economic area. There are various sectors where ethics plays a very significant role. So the first sector is agricultural sector. Ethical concepts and tools which always portray a varieties of issues in the food system. And of course, their goals is to assist the experts and others who are actually deal with such issues, and always come up with the topics of ethics, and it should be applied in the agricultural sector in the form of animal welfare, farm structure composition, food safety measures, environmental impact, and of course the issue of hunger and so on. Let's take a case of the agricultural sector. According to the Starbucks 2020 Global Social Impact Report, the company has made a significant contribution to the corporate social responsibility by using up a properly sourced coffee. So, developing a global network of farmers, providing them with the 100 million trees to plant by 2025. This is called ethics. This is called that how the organization or a company would work, considered as a responsibility to prepare to have a sourced coffee, and in this to have a source coffee, they have issued to all the farmers, invited all the farmers to build up or to plant 100 million trees. And it should be, and of course, that's called a green building in all of its stores. And this is a way that how they will doing a green marketing as well, donating a millions of hours to the community services, developing a groundbreaking program to it of its or for its employees. So this is how the business ethics will place in the economic area which is called agricultural sector. So, and of course it has also become a corporate social responsibility by just to think about or to work for the community services. Next one is tourism. To safeguard the interest of the customers using the tourism services, it is very important for the organization to protect the nature and the environment of the tourist destination. What would be the rights of the tourist? What would the rights of the residents? Whether the tourist authorities, you can say, oblige such ethics, and follow up a professionalism, and also ensure whether they will ensure the green irrigation in the hotels, and the tourism industry should always adopt a good ethics condition for the tourism industry. By giving up an example, E1 Nidu Resorts, that is a four resorts in the Philippine archipelago of Palawan. So these resorts were built with the renewable indigenous materials, and it always repurposed wood from the various Filipino homes. So when we talk about the Filipino homes, it always they always work that the homes should be built up with wood only, with a high quality wood, or the wooden material, high quality wooden material will be used to build the homes, that is called the Filipino homes in the Philippine or the Palawan, you can say, area. So when advanced sewage treatment facilities, solar panels, compositing and organic farms are on sites, and the groups will quickly realize that they will gather a guilt-free environment, and that is the one of the business ethics that in the tourism industry the particular organizations follows it. Next one is telecommunication sector. So ethics is always plays a very important role in terms of technology. There are plenty of problems in the organization which are actually facing at present, that is improper confidentiality, security, privacy concerns, spammers, unauthorized use of social networking and payments, and the investment fraud. Since the sector is growing dramatically, so there are numerous problems would occurs if ethics and norms are not applied in it. So to prevent these issues and concern, a suitable preventable strategy should be adopted so that these activities or these issues can be easily checked and resolved according to the time or with the flow of time. Next one is trade. A well-managed trade helps all and in some way or in all way as well. A sound plan should be prepared, that how the moral values or principles should be adopted in a project to achieve the sustainability. So entrepreneurs who always conduct operation on a global scale to understand that what would be the moral values which could be adopted globally, and of course it is expected to follow all the regulatory safety requirements, including the environmental regulations. So if any of the company are actually transporting through the ship about its consignments which can be transferred from one country to another country through ship, so ultimately they have to be follow the regulatory safety requirements, and including the environmental regulation as well. And that is why the business ethics would always plays a very significant role in case of trade. Next one is education. So education ethics are also crucial because they have to support the system efficiency. So acceptable and unacceptable behavior totally depends upon the code of conduct, and these code of conduct will always safeguard the interest of both the teachers and students. And after all, there are four of fundamental principles of teaching are respect for human dignity, honesty, fairness, and individual freedom. And in India, there is a corporate social responsibility program which was launched to assist 23,000 of students during the COVID-19 pandemic by providing them with online sessions. So during the COVID-19, there every university, even the teachers and students are also involved to teach and take the online sessions and educate them through online only. And what the amount or whatever the amount spent in the period 2020 to 21 was 20.92 crores, intending to achieve zero dropouts and improve school lessons. Financial and banking sector. The banking sector has always suffered a varieties of ethical problems. Let's say a lack of adequate training, the trust, the openness, the competition, pressure, the complexity of the financial operation, and of course the problem of the money laundering. So the banks will always build up their brand reputation by adopting the moral behavior. And the customers must also take care about the ethics, that what to be done, what to be a possibility of the opportunities to build up a brand reputation of the company. And it could be built up through the customers only, through the consumers only for the organization. And as a result, the consumer should grow and their revenue should also increase. So the issue of non-performing loans will automatically relieved by the banks only or for the banks only. So after all, banks have a responsibility if there is if the loan category or the loan plans will not work as expected by the banks. What is the next concept is family business. What is family business? Family business is a business that is owned, that is operated, that is handled by two or more members of a family. And these members should be blood related, should be related by marriage or adoption, or any family owned business has to have the following qualities. So a sole family which always owns the majority of the percentage of the ownership. So any sole family member in the family who have an own ownership or the owns a majority percentage of the ownership can be termed or involved have a following features, which has to have a control over the voting system. They have a power to take a strategic decision making. They can have or generate a multiple generations of that single family to have involved into a business. The same family has to draw the senior management of that firm. So if any family member who hold a majority percentage, they must have the following qualities, and these four qualities must have. They have a control, they have a power, they will generate a multiple generations, and they can build up a senior management team of that particular business or firm. Family business examples, that is, these are the car wash, so a lower investment business idea which requires the car wash equipment, a location or a hotel as well, and they can turn as a family business, and all the family members would work in that particular car wash companies. Next one is event planning. A family business can also involve in organizing and managing events. Photography, a creative business unit, can also capture the memories for others, like family portrait, event photography, or corporate headshots, which always be a huge term as a family business, where the other families must have a knowledge of the knowledge related to the specific domains, and accordingly they can join it. Restaurants, a family business can be a great way to bond and spend time together and show up the love for their food. Next one is doggy daycare. A family business can be a great idea if anyone love dogs. Tour company, a family business that can be a good way to make money from tourists who wants to learn more and more about your city history. jewelry business, a family business that can be a cheap to start but still profitable. So it is a sort of business that can be lower in the cost to start but still profitable as well. Advantages of the family business. The next was stability. Since there as any family members who hold the leadership position, so there is a stability in the family owned business, and this in these businesses a leader plays a very strong position for years with their different qualities, with their different life events like in retirement, illness, or death degree the change at the top. Next one is commitment. So family business may have a greater inclination towards the commitment about the accountability than the non-family firms could not work, could not able to adjust or could not understand the need for the business and work together as a family. So these characteristics which always increase the benefits like understanding the industry, organization, and job, and effective marketing and strong customer relationship. So it could be built up through commitment towards the business, family business. Next one is flexibility. So while the non-family businesses have doesn't focus on the family responsibilities or being work as an individual roles, so the members of the family businesses can take on tasks outside of their predetermined roles. The roles which has been given to me in the family business, they can also give me the another roles as well, so that I can work on the different perspective and towards for the different domains or specific areas. So that's why the flexibility is always be there in the family owned businesses. Next one is long term outlook. Non family firms have to draw goals for the coming quarter, while family firms can always think about the goals that they have to take ahead for a long time. So this long-term perspective, which always clears the decision-making culture throughout the businesses. There are disadvantages of the family business, that is lack of family interest. Sometimes future generations are not interested in participating in the family, and they feel like unenthusiastic, apathetic, and the disengaged workforce management. Second disadvantage is to conflicts between the family members. The relationship between the family members and the family history and almost blunt boundaries. They build up a boundary between the work life and the family life, and it could be conflicting as well. So the family connection make these issues more and more complex way. Lack of structure. Since family business depends upon trust and loyalty, and if these two are lacking, then ultimately it become a disadvantage for the family business, and the proper internal rules couldn't be made, and it couldn't be possible, and external corporate law that also been becoming lacking. So this is also the one of the disadvantage of the family business. Next one is nepotism. So some family business promote the family members for the senior management positions, and these members are actually having the lack of education and skills or potential, so that to hold up that responsibility for a long term. So this is a drawback and negativity impact on the company success. Next one is succession planning. Many family-run businesses is always lacking a clearly defined succession plans. So in such case of emergency, or in case of the emergency come, it is very difficult to appoint a successor due to the scandal or the illness or a death. It might become very hard for the guy's business to depend upon the successor. So it is also the disadvantage of the family business. Let's come to the theories of family business. The first one is system theory. So the system theory is totally depend upon the three cycle model, which is generally accepted as a standard model for the family business, and it includes three main terms, that is family, business, and ownership. And these three circle model, it totally depends upon the three main components, namely family, business, and ownership. And these three separate circles, which will be termed as family, business, and ownership, is a significant achievement for the family business. And all circles are constantly intertwined, interrelated, or interconnected to each other. So if any of the circle, you can say, lacking in somewhere, it leads to poor communication, lack of commitment, resentment to the future of the businesses. So it is very important. There's these three components to understand, to apply to the businesses, so that most of the things, or the plenty of the things, the business family is trying to prevent. And that's called system theory. That these three components, just take these three components into the system of your businesses, so that the family business is always keen to prevent from unauthorized activities. Next one is agency theory. So, agency theories actually portray a relationship between the principals and the agents in the businesses. So, the agency theory is always made to reduce the conflict of interest between the owners and the managers of the firm. So, this theory is always work to eliminate the conflicts of interest between owners and managers. So agency relationship is most important, and it occurs the principals when the principals hires the agent to perform a service on the principal's behalf. So if I'm a principal of a school, then I hire an agent to perform a service on my behalf, and that principal, that means me, which always delegate an important decisions and always delegate a decision making authority to those agents. And that's called agency theory. The work which I am doing in my absence, the agents will do that work, will do take an or hold decision making authority, so that they can take a soundful decisions for the organization or for the family businesses. Next one is resource-based theory. So resource-based theory, which have a different perspective to focus on a unique resources that a family business could hold. So automatically these resources can provide a competitive advantage and contribute for a long-term success. And the three main resources are social capital, patient capital, and reputation. Social capital, we always talk about the strong relationship and the valuable networks within the family and the community, which always facilitate such business opportunities and access all the valuable information to the outside or to outsiders. Next, patient capital. Family businesses is always willing up to take a long opinion or the long-term opinion, which always allow them to invest in those products which always give you the rate of return into their payback periods. Next one is reputation. So a family business reputation is always depends upon the trust, the reliability, so that they can attract the loyal customers and partners to associate with the family businesses or to work for their family businesses in an outside scenario. So this is how the research-based theory works, and it is based on three main resources so that the family business could hold, that is the social capital, the patient capital, and the reputation. Next theory is stewardship theory. Stewardship theory provides a refreshing concept which always work or build a collaborative relationship between the owners and the managers. So it always work on the collaborative relationship, the family members and the managers which build up such relationship which always focus on the long-term success of the family businesses, and build up a steward culture. A family business should always build up a strong relationship and align the incentives who work the best for their family businesses. Regular communication, joint decision making, shared ownership structure, which always helps to build up a steward, a sense of steward, a sense of togetherness, and ensures that everyone is working towards the same goals of the family business. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening this lecture. I will come up with the more and more interesting topics and important topics in the upcoming session. So till time, namaste to all.